welcome to the world today on Channels Television. I am Amarachi Ubani. It is a sad day in South Korea where almost 300 people are missing after a ferry carrying 459 people capsized and sank off the country. The ferry, carrying mainly school students, was traveling from the port of Incheon into the northwest to the southern resort island of Jeju. A major rescue effort is underway involving dozens of ships and helicopters. Those brought to safety were taken to a nearby island. 4 people are now said to have died and at least 13 more injured in the incident.
South Korean officials say 293 people are missing after a ferry sank off the southwest coast. The threefold increase in the number of passengers unaccounted for was put down to a miscalculation by officials. 4 people were confirmed dead after the ferry tilted heavily onto its side and capsized in apparently calm conditions off South Korea's southwest coast. The Ministry of Security and Public Administration had reported that 368 people had been rescued and that about 100 were missing. It later described those figures as a miscalculation, turning what had first appeared to be a largely successful rescue operation into potentially a major disaster. The cause of the disaster was not immediately clear. Most of those on board were students and their teachers from a high school in Seoul on a field trip to Jeju Island, about 100 kilometers south of the South Korean peninsula. The U.S. Navy has sent a ship to join the search and rescue operation for the missing passengers.
We have more now on the South Korean ferry that sank, almost 300 people missing after a ferry carrying 459 people. Most of the people on that ship were mainly school students who were traveling from the port of Incheon in the northwest to the southern resort island of Jeju. We understand a rescue effort is underway involving dozens of ships and helicopters. Those brought to safety were taken to a nearby island. 4 are now said to have died and 13 others have been injured. The VOA's correspondent Ji-won Lee joins us now from the newsroom in Washington. Ji-won, thanks for joining us on The World Today. A really sad incident that happened this morning. What else do we know about that ferry accident?
Well, the ferry sank off South Korea's southern coast Wednesday morning with 459 people on board, and so far 4 people are confirmed dead, with about 290 people still missing. And the ferry named Sewol left the port city of Incheon near capital Seoul the night before and was heading to the resort island of Jeju. And most of them were students going on a field trip. And what's tragic about it is that the location they were going to is called the Hawaii of Korea. So it was supposed to be a very fun and very educational field trip. Now it turned into a disaster.
But how far have the rescue efforts gone? Are we hearing anything about any other people rescued or what's really going on? Challenges with the weather, perhaps?
There are definitely challenges with the weather because it has been 14 hours since the accident has happened, and the weather is now, it's about 1:30 a.m. in Korea right now, and it's extremely cold. So people who have escaped the ferry and went on to the sea are actually freezing, and the chances are very low that they will survive this weather, but if they have stayed on the ferry, the chances are higher, obviously.
And what about relatives and people who know those who were on that ship? Of course, there's a lot of anxiety going on, probably in press conference rooms, people waiting to hear information about any updates on the ferry.
So the rescue efforts have actually been resumed about a couple of minutes ago because of the weather condition, they had to stall it for a couple of hours. But it has been resumed and it's ongoing. So it's a little bit too early to tell how well it is going, but it is going. And the maritime police are firing star shells into the sky to brighten up the area and to continue to do so throughout the night.
Thanks a lot, Ji-won. Thanks for keeping us updated. Ji-won Lee is a VOA correspondent. She spoke to us from the newsroom in Washington.